Welcome to the Get Trauma Informed podcast, dedicated to unraveling the complexities of trauma, its pervasive impact, and the journey towards holistic recovery and realignment. If your radiance has ever felt muted, like I and thousands of others, you're in the right place to reignite your inner light. I'm your host, Wellness Coach Liz Blanding, and this is the Get Trauma Informed podcast. If your radiance have ever been muted, like I and thousands of others. Hi, today we are introducing you to the Get Trauma Informed podcast. I am your host, Wellness Coach Liz Blanding, and we are going to unravel the complexities of trauma. I tell you, I'm excited to bring on special experts that are going to help us to understand the depths of trauma and help us to mark a plan or map out a plan to help us to get through our trauma and get over to the other side. Yes, we are going to come out of the shadows of trauma together. Coming out of the shadows of trauma means that I am able to be my full self. I am able to live in my purpose. It's my person meets my purpose. And living in that perspective and being able to be your full self, it's like gathering up all of your shattered pieces and pulling them back together. Being in the shadows feel like imposter syndrome. And we talk about that. We talk about what does imposter syndrome mean? And we say, no, I'm being my full self. But see, when you are coming out of the shadows or you are walking in the shadows, and it's like people invite you to a room or to a table and you show up because you know that you are this amazing person. But part of you feels like, why am I here? And part of you feels like this is, it gets overwhelming to you. So coming out of those shadows means that you are pulling all of those pieces back together and you are really able to be your full self, which is absolutely amazing. I just want to add this. God gave each one of us our own unique fingerprint. So that means that we are a unique masterpiece, all in and all of itself. Now that I'm out of the shadows and I am stepping into my light, it is such an incredible, amazing experience. It's like meeting myself for the very first time. I'm able to be that amazing, incredible person that I've always known deep inside that I could be. But it's so many, like a cover, it's a veil or something over you that holds you back from being your full self. See, trauma is unfair, trauma is mean, trauma is just that. And when we all start to understand and become aware of what trauma really means and what it does to a person, then we can help that person to recover and realign, and we can recover and realign ourselves. I'm planning on using my experience to help others in the way of being transparent. And I've heard my family members say, as I was working through this, they would say, why are you telling all your stuff? Why are you, we've been taught to keep our stuff inside. But hear me clearly, that makes us sick. One of my favorite poems by Langston Hughes, one of the lines in his poem, it says, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. And for me, it has not been a crystal stair, but I've always known that my pain was not in vain. My pain was for me to understand, for me to learn, for me to go through all of the classes, certifications, and all of the training that I've gone through so that I can be that beacon of light, that lighthouse for somebody else. And as we reach one person and teach one person through the Get Trauma Informed podcast, we are going to live in such a incredible space of being able to help one another. Before I leave you today, I want you to lean in. Listen, trauma was not your fault. We were collateral damage on somebody else's warpath. But understand, even though trauma wasn't our fault, recovery is our responsibility. I am your host, Wellness Coach Liz Blanding, and this is the Get Trauma Informed podcast. It's time to buckle up. No more suffering in silence. Our Power Pack journey to recovery and realignment starts now. Remember, You were collateral damage on someone else's warpath. Trauma is not your fault. Recovery, however, is your responsibility. I'm your host, wellness coach Liz Blanding, and this is the Get Trauma Informed podcast.